Hi guys, yes, I'm doing it again, another video. We need to continue our quest to find ways to challenge a granted patent. So far we learned from our previous videos that a pre-grant opposition can be filed under section 25(1) on many grounds. Similarly, a post-grant opposition can be filed within 12 months from the grant of a patent application by a person interested on almost the similar grounds. In fact, the same grounds. In front of the controller, and the controller decides whether the patent stays or patent gets revoked. Now moving on, let's say on both the occasions the opponent was not successful in terms of getting a favorable response from the controller. What does he do? Is he left with any other option to challenge the grant of the patent? Yes. So the section 64 comes to his rescue. So under section 64, a person interested can file a petition to revoke a granted patent. Now here the avenue is not the controller, but it's IPAB or High Court, depending on the situations and the conditions. Now let's start with the IPAB. So a person interested can file a petition to revoke a granted patent anytime during the life of the granted patent. So there is no timeline that is defined. Remember, in post-grant opposition, within 12 months from the grant of the patent, a notice of opposition needs to be filed. But the petition for revocation can be filed anytime during the term of the patent application. So that's the biggest difference that is there. Now it's happening with IPAB. So there is another difference that we are talking about. Now moving on to the grounds. Are there any more grounds apart from the grounds that we discussed during pre-grant and post-grant opposition? Yeah, so apart from the normal grounds that we remember, there are additional grounds also. But let's recall all the grounds as per our technique to remember them. Now remember, whenever you have an idea in front of you, how do you decide? So you talk about the novelty, you talk about the inventive step, basically the obviousness, and you also talk about the industrial applicability of the invention. So these are the three grounds straightforward in front of you. Now novelty is always discussed with regards to anything which is available around us. Now that could be published documents, those could be published specifications, those could be published journals, or it could be products which are available around you. Now similarly, inventive step also is evaluated in light of what is known to the public in terms of publication, in terms of products, or in terms of the services which are around them. Now this publications could be patented publications or it could be journal publications. We all know that. Now industrial applicability is of course industrial applicability. Now section 2 is out of our way. One ground, which section 2 gives us three grounds, which we have discussed all of them. Now moving on to section 3. So 3A to 3P, we know all of them. We don't need to list all of them down, but we know that as per section 3, if it can be challenged that this invention should not be considered as an invention itself, then also that can be used as a ground. Section 4 also gets clubbed along with it. Now moving on, section 6. So the way we discuss about it is the invention was wrongfully obtained from the petitioner. So that also could be considered as a ground. So this happens. So section 6 gets covered, that the person who actually, the patentee was not the person who was not entitled to file an application for a grant of the patent. So that is, section 6 is done. Now moving on to section 8, where form 3 was not filed regularly or was filed inadequately, or sufficient information was not provided in there. Moving on to another ground, which is section 10. Section 10 provides us the specification. The specification is not describing the invention properly for a person skilled in the art to practice the invention, or to, let's say, to work the invention. The best method of performing the invention is not disclosed. The specifications are not sufficient. The specification is not describing the invention properly. Similarly, we have section 10.5, which talks about the claims. So the claims are not succinct, the claims are not clear, the claims are not defining the scope of the invention clearly, or the claims are not fairly based on the specification that's part of the application basically. So section 10 is done. Now moving on, section 13 we discussed because of the public inventive step and other grounds of it. Now let's move on to the additional grounds which are there. Now additional grounds are the secrecy provisions. Now what about secrecy provision? So it says that either you didn't follow the secrecy provision, even though the secrecy provision was invoked, then also you went ahead and filed an application in a foreign country. That's one. Another one is that you didn't file the application first in India, or you didn't seek a permission from the controller to file the application in a foreign country when you didn't want to file the first application in India. So basically contravention of section 35 and section 39. So that is additional ground. Then moving on to the amendments ground. Remember 57, 58, 59, section 57, 58, 59, where amendments can be made by way of disclaimer, explanation, and clerical errors. So there also, let's say you made amendments and the amendments were made by deception or by fraud. So that's section 57, 58, 59. Now, what else? Then again, we go to section 3P, where any knowledge which is available to a community, which can anticipate the invention that you have filed the application for. So that can also be considered as a ground. Anything else that I have missed? Yeah, another thing is the use of the invention in India or anywhere else. But if that use is for government purpose, or if that use is only for reasonable trial or experimental purpose, then those use are not considered to be anticipating the invention and cannot be considered as a ground for opposition. Anything else that I have missed? Yeah, another thing, when we are talking about section 10, we also talk about biological material. So if the biological material is not disclosed, not deposited, or the source or origin of the biological material is wrongly provided, or the wrong information is provided, then that can also be considered as a ground for opposition. So it's very simple. The grounds are similar to the grounds which were there in the pre-grant and post-grant opposition, but with the addition of section 35, section 39, section 57, section 59, and yes, these are the sections which are addition to it. So this is, any person interested can file a petition for revoking the patent application. Similarly, central government also can file a petition with High Court, not IPAB, with High Court to revoke a patent application in certain conditions where the patentee is not working the invention for the purpose of use by the central government. So let's say the central government may have requested the patentee that you need to use this invention for the purpose of central government, but patentee may have found one or another reason to avoid this. So that can be considered as a ground by the central government while filing a petition for revoking of the patent, but at High Court. So High Court takes a decision there, but then High Court. So at that case also there are hearings, there are arguments that happens between the central government, the patentee, and the High Court, so that an equal opportunity is given to the patentee also to come clear on the allegations that have been put by the central government. Now, then we have that once these notices are served, to whom all these notices should be served. So these notices should be served to all the parties that have interest in the patent, or the proprietaries of the patent, the proprietors of the patent, basically, the information which is there in the register of the patent, who all people could be considered as patentee or proprietors, or who all people could be considered as having interest in the patent. Now this could be licensee guys, this could be the inventors, this could be the patentee, this could be the applicants, right? So we are done with section 64. Recap, section 64 is nothing but petition to file revocation. We discussed the grounds. Grounds are similar to the grounds of pre-grant, post-grant opposition. Addition we already discussed. Then we have central government coming into picture. Central government doesn't talk to IPAB. Central government directly goes to the High Court, and central government comes into picture with High Court only when the patentee is not working the invention for the use by the central government. And all such notices need to be sent to all the parties who are considered to be interested in the patent. Now, who are those? Proprietaries, patentees, and people having interest, people having some sort of interest in the patent. Could be licensees. Now that is done. Now let's move to another. So this was by any person interested and central government. Now section 65 talks about, let's say there could be a case where controller or the patent office actually overlook the fact that the invention actually relates to atomic energy. Now, and because of the overlook, the patent gets granted. Also, the invention is granted a patent, And later on, when central government realizes or observe that the invention indeed belongs to atomic energy, for which under section 10, under section 4, no patent can be granted, right? So central government can provide instruction or direction to the controller to revoke the patent application. Now at this stage, what the controller does, controller actually sends a notice to the patentee and provides him an opportunity to be heard. And based on the hearing that happens, what can happen? The controller provides an opportunity to the patentee to amend the application, to, let's say, remove the part or the portions which may be related to the atomic energy, and grant the patent or have the patent as amended, or a complete patent can be refused, or not refused, sorry, a complete complete patent can be revoked. So that's central government to controller in case of atomic energy. Now the important question is, even though central government is providing direction to the controller, it's not like controller can just behave as a dictator, or central government can behave as a dictator. So there is an opportunity provided to the patentee to be heard. Remember, this could be a very interesting true and false question, or this could be a multiple choice question, anything of that sort. So patentee is provided an opportunity. Now another thing that is there here is, it's not necessary that the patent will be revoked completely. The patent can be amended also. So the patentee can still have a patent, but in an amended manner, where all those portions which were contentious, or with respect to the atomic energy, and then it stands amended. Now moving on, so we had IPAB. Now so a person interested goes to IPAB to revoke, central government goes to High Court to revoke, and then we have central government goes to controller to revoke. Now we have central government on its own. Now when central government believes that the patented invention, the way it is practiced, is mischievous to the state, to the country, let's say, or is some sort of prejudice to the people in general or to the public in general, then it can issue a notice, and the patent can be considered as revoked. Now in this case, one thing interesting it is, even though central government is directly getting involved without the controller, then also the patentee is provided an opportunity to be heard. Again, there is no dictatorship that's happening. The patentee is provided with an opportunity to be heard before his application can be considered as revoked. So with that, 64, 65, 66 is done. Isn't it too simple? Same grounds, but secrecy provision comes into picture, amendments come into picture. So these two grounds come into picture. And then we have central government, the concept of IPAB, the concept of High Court, and the concept of central government directly revoking the application, revoking the patent under section 66. So 60, 64, 65, 66, we are done. Now, we didn't talk about High Court. So High Court, of course, central government can go to High Court. But what about a person interested? Can High Court be involved when a person interested is in the picture? Yes, that can happen. But that happens only during litigations. Now, let me go a little deep into it. Not too deep, but let's say an infringement proceeding were to be started by a patentee against an infringer. Now, the first defense that is there is to oppose the patent, right? So as soon as a counter claim for invalidation of the patent is filed, then the entire things move to High Court. So the High Court comes into picture where counterclaim is involved. So litigation and counterclaim, High Court gets involved. So we are done. I think the patent application, if the patentee is not able to provide his grounds properly, or his statements properly, or his support properly, then the patent will get revoked. Now, remember, there is one important aspect that we talked about here, which is wrongful obtainment, right? Now, here I would want to go back to section 50, 51, 52. Yes, section 52, because section 53 talks about term of the patent. Section 43 talks about grant of the patent, grant and term of the patent. So section 52. Now in section 52, what we discussed is when it is established that the invention was obtained wrongfully from the petitioner, then instead of revoking the application, what can be done? High Court or IPAB can provide an instruction that any part or portion of the invention which was considered to be wrongfully obtained from the petitioner is the person who is actually petitioning to revoke the patent. Now, one of the ground is wrongful obtainment. So he could be, let's say, the true and first inventor, right? So Laila Majnu, let's take an example of Laila Majnu. Laila was supposed to be the true and first inventor, but the Majnu took away the invention and filed a patent, also got a grant of the patent. Now under section 64, Laila can file a petition to revoke the patent. Now, and it was all decided that yes, either the entire invention or a set of the claims were indeed contributed by Laila. In that case, High Court, instead of revoking the entire application, can say or can state, High Court or IPAB can state that such and such part and portion of the patent should be granted to Laila. Now, remember 52. So instead of revoking the entire application, some part or complete portion of the patent can be provided to the opponent. Now, how can it happen? So some instruction is provided. So this order is passed. Now, once this order is passed, it doesn't mean that the patent will be given to this opponent. The opponent needs to file a request to the controller in a prescribed manner. The controller may require the petitioner or the opponent to actually file a fresh set of claims, fresh set of specification, basically prepare the entire document set again and give it to the controller so that the controller can grant the patent either on the portion or the entire patent on this particular of this particular invention to this particular opponent. Now, we discussed about the patent number remains the same in case the entire patent is granted to the opponent only. The date also remains the same. But in case of only the part of the invention is provided to the opponent, then the date remains the same, but the patent number may change based on the current sequence that's happening. Now, another thing that we discussed around there, that is can Laila actually go behind somebody in terms of litigation? So there is a constraint that you cannot go behind somebody for the infringement that was committed before the grant of the patent. So with that, actually, we have completed our revocation. Isn't it simple? Now, when we talk about section 25.1, 25.2 and 64. Now, when question comes, you need to decide what is the end objective, what is the time frame that you're talking about, and then pick either 25.1, 25.2 or section 64, right? So one of these sections you need to pick based on what is the end objective that you're looking for. Are you going completely crazy over busting the entire application? Do you want some part of it to be given to you? And what options do you have? What grounds do you have? Based on that, you decide what option do you want to take. You want to go on 25.2 or you want to go on section 64. Of course, are you within the window of 12 months from the grant of the patent, or you are beyond that particular window? That also decides which section can you tap. So with that, folks, I think we are good with section 64 also. Now, from wrongful obtainment, we have gone to section 52 also, where an opponent can have the patent which he was contesting against. So I think with this, we are all set. 64, 65, 66, all good. So we are through. Let me know how you liked it, because this is another video that I've created. I don't know whether I've changed my ways, but then feedback would always be welcomed, because there are many more sections which are left and would require multiple parts to prepare it. Okay, so guys, with this done, let me know your feedback. Take care and read well. I may come up with quizzes based on the sections that I have taught you so far. Okay, Faye. Take care. Bye-bye.